Most traders enter the market with a calculator in one hand and a dream in the other. They count the trades they could make, the profits they might capture, the opportunities that flash across their screens every minute. They believe that more activity equals more success, that constant motion means constant progress. But here's the contradiction that changes everything. The most successful traders I know make fewer trades than almost anyone else. They skip opportunity after opportunity, watching the market dance while they sit perfectly still. And somehow they make more money than the traders who never stop moving. This isn't about being lazy. It isn't about lacking ambition or missing out on profits. This is about understanding something that most traders never discover. The market rewards patience more than it rewards speed. It pays discipline more than it pays activity. And it transforms those who learn to wait into the kind of traders who build wealth, while others burn through accounts. If you've ever felt the exhaustion of watching every chart, taking every signal, chasing every move, then you know the weight of constant decision-making. You know what it feels like when your mind becomes a battlefield of should I or shouldn't I? When every candlestick feels like a test of your commitment. When sitting still feels like giving up. That internal tension is where most trading careers die. Not from bad strategies or market crashes, but from the inability to resist the constant pull of action. The market is designed to make you feel like you're missing something. Every tick of price movement whispers that opportunity is slipping away. Every setup that forms without you suggests you're not working hard enough. Every profit posted by another trader online makes you question whether you're too conservative, too slow, too careful. This psychological pressure is relentless. It builds until the need to act becomes overwhelming. And that's exactly when most traders make their worst decisions. Think about the last time you overtrade. It probably started with a single trade that didn't work out. Maybe you risked more than usual because the setup looked perfect. Maybe you held too long because you needed it to work. When it failed, something shifted inside you. The loss wasn't just financial, it was personal. Your confidence took a hit. Your strategy felt inadequate. And suddenly, the urge to make it back became more important than following your rules. So you took another trade, then another. Each one carrying the emotional weight of the previous loss. Each entry motivated more by desperation than by discipline. The market doesn't care about your desperation. It doesn't respond to your urgency. It simply reflects back the quality of your decisions. When those decisions are driven by emotion rather than logic, the results speak for themselves. This cycle repeats itself in trading accounts around the world every single day. Traders who started with solid plans abandon them the moment pressure builds. They mistake activity for progress. They confuse busy work with productive work. They think that if they're not constantly trading, they're not really trading at all. But professional traders know something different. They understand that the most profitable action is often no action at all. Consider the trader who waits 3 weeks for the perfect setup. While others are taking dozens of trades, chasing every minor fluctuation, burning through capital on mediocre opportunities, this trader sits quietly, studying, preparing, waiting. When the right moment finally arrives, they strike with precision and size. One trade produces more profit than the other traders made in their entire month of constant activity. This isn't luck. This isn't timing. This is the power of selectivity. The difference between these approaches isn't just mathematical, it's psychological. The trader who takes every opportunity carries the emotional weight of every decision. Every loss stings. Every win feels temporary. Every missed move feels like failure. The mental burden accumulates until clear thinking becomes impossible. Meanwhile, the selective trader preserves their emotional energy for the moments that truly matter. They stay fresh, focused, and objective because they're not exhausted by constant decision-making. Most traders never learn this lesson because it goes against everything they believe about success. In almost every other area of life, more effort produces better results. Work longer hours, make more money, study harder, get better grades, practice more, improve faster. But trading operates by different rules. In trading, less can be more. Fewer trades can mean higher profits. Less activity can create better results. The market teaches this lesson to those patient enough to learn it. Every overtraded account tells the same story. Every blown account follows the same pattern. The trader starts with a plan, abandons it under pressure, increases activity to compensate for losses, and eventually destroys everything they've built. The solution isn't better strategies or more sophisticated tools. The solution is learning to resist the urge to act when action isn't warranted. This resistance feels unnatural at first. Your mind will tell you that opportunities are passing you by. Your emotions will argue that sitting still is the same as giving up. Your ego will insist that real traders are always in the market, always active, always engaged. These voices are not your friends, they are the market's way of testing your discipline. They are the psychological traps that separate winners from losers. The path forward requires a fundamental shift in how you think about trading success. Instead of measuring your day by how many trades you took, measure it by how well you followed your plan. Instead of judging your performance by immediate profits, judge it by the quality of your decision-making process. Instead of feeling productive when you're busy, feel productive when you're selective. This mindset shift doesn't happen overnight. It requires practice, patience, and the willingness to feel uncomfortable while you learn. You'll sit through setups that almost meet your criteria but not quite. You'll watch moves happen without you. You'll question whether your standards are too high, whether you're being too picky, whether you're missing out on profits that other traders are capturing. But here's what you'll discover over time. The trades you skip often turn out to be the ones that would have hurt you. The opportunities you let pass frequently reverse or fail to follow through. The FOMO that drives you to act impulsively is usually a warning sign that the setup isn't as good as it appears. Your instinct to wait, to be selective, to demand higher quality opportunities isn't holding you back, it's protecting you. The most successful traders understand that their job isn't to predict every market move or capture every opportunity. Their job is to identify the few setups where the odds are heavily in their favor and execute those setups with precision and discipline. Everything else is noise. Everything else is distraction. Everything else is the market testing whether they have the patience to wait for what really matters. When you finally learn to embrace selective trading, something remarkable happens to your relationship with the market. The constant noise that once demanded your attention begins to fade. The urgency that drove you to act on every signal starts to dissolve. What emerges in its place is clarity, a deep understanding that the market will always be there tomorrow, but your capital might not be if you continue to treat every opportunity as urgent. This transformation doesn't happen because you suddenly become smarter or develop some mystical ability to predict price movements. It happens because you stop fighting the market and start flowing with it. You realize that the market operates on its own timeline, not yours. It creates opportunities when it wants to, not when you need it to. And those who align themselves with this natural rhythm discover a level of success that the constantly active trader never experiences. The irony runs deeper than most people realize. The traders who make the most money often spend the least time actively trading. They might spend hours studying charts, analyzing market conditions, and preparing for opportunities. But when it comes to actual execution, they are surgical in their precision. One carefully planned trade can generate more profit than 100 rushed decisions made under pressure. This selective approach requires a fundamental rewiring of how you think about productivity in trading. In most careers, being busy signals competence. The employee who stays late, answers emails quickly, and takes on extra projects gets recognized and promoted. But trading rewards the opposite behavior. The trader who can sit perfectly still while chaos unfolds around them, who can watch opportunity after opportunity pass by without flinching, who can maintain discipline when everyone else is panicking or euphoric. This trader possesses the psychological edge that separates professionals from amateurs. The market tests this discipline relentlessly. It will present you with setups that are almost perfect, but missing one crucial element. It will show you moves that could have made you money if only you had acted faster. It will create situations where every fiber of your being screams that you need to do something, anything, rather than sit idle. These moments are not random. They are the market's way of separating those who have truly internalized selective trading from those who are merely pretending to be patient. Most traders fail this test repeatedly before they understand what's happening. They see a setup that meets 8 out of 10 criteria and convince themselves that close enough is good enough. They watch a stock break out and jump in late, telling themselves they can't afford to miss the move. They feel the pull of FOMO so strongly that they override their better judgment and take trades they know they shouldn't take. Each time they fail the test, they weaken their discipline and make it easier to fail again. The successful trader learns to view these moments differently. Instead of seeing a missed opportunity, they see a successful exercise in discipline. Instead of feeling regret about the money they didn't make, they feel satisfaction about the money they didn't lose. They understand that every trade they skip because it doesn't meet their criteria is actually a victory, even if the market moves in their favor afterward. This reframing is crucial because it addresses the psychological pain that drives overtrading. When you skip a trade that would have been profitable, your brain interprets this as a mistake. The emotional sting of missed profits can be just as painful as actual losses, but the selective trader recognizes this pain as a necessary cost of maintaining discipline. They accept that they will occasionally miss profitable moves in exchange for avoiding the numerous unprofitable ones. The mathematics of this approach become clear over time. If you take every trade that meets 7 out of 10 criteria, you might catch a few more winners, but you'll also catch significantly more losers. Your win rate might improve slightly, but your overall profitability will suffer because the quality of your average trade decreases. The selective trader who waits for 10 out of 10 setups trades less frequently, but with much higher accuracy and confidence. This patience extends beyond just entry signals. It applies to position sizing, exit strategies, and even the markets you choose to trade. A selective trader doesn't just wait for the right setup, they wait for the right setup in the right market under the right conditions with the right risk-reward ratio. They understand that all of these factors must align before risking capital, and they're willing to wait as long as necessary for that alignment to occur. The waiting itself becomes a skill, not the passive waiting of someone who has nothing else to do, but the active waiting of a predator who knows exactly what they're hunting. This type of waiting requires mental strength because it goes against every instinct that tells you to stay busy, to keep moving, to do something productive with your time. But in trading, this disciplined inactivity is often the most productive thing you can do. During these periods of waiting, the selective trader doesn't become complacent. They use the time to sharpen their skills, study market patterns, review past trades, and prepare for the opportunities they know will eventually come. They treat these quiet periods as preparation time, not downtime. When the perfect setup finally appears, they're ready to execute with precision because they've been preparing for that exact moment. The emotional benefits of this approach are just as important as the financial ones. When you're not constantly in and out of trades, you're not constantly experiencing the emotional highs and lows that come with each position. Your mood doesn't fluctuate with every tick of price movement. You can approach each trading decision with a clear mind because you're not carrying the emotional baggage of yesterday's trades into today's decisions. This emotional stability creates a positive feedback loop. Because you're calmer and more objective, you make better decisions. Because you make better decisions, you get better results. Because you get better results, you become more confident in your approach. And because you're more confident, you find it easier to be selective and patient. The trader who masters this cycle discovers that success in trading is largely about managing yourself rather than predicting the market. The selective approach also forces you to become intimately familiar with your edge. When you take fewer trades, each one matters more, so you naturally become more thorough in your analysis. You develop a deeper understanding of what makes a setup truly exceptional versus merely acceptable. You start to recognize subtle patterns and market conditions that increase or decrease the probability of success. This expertise only comes from quality over quantity. Many traders resist this approach because it feels like they're not working hard enough. They equate activity with effort and assume that taking fewer trades means putting in less work. But the opposite is true. It requires tremendous discipline and mental effort to resist the constant temptation to act. It takes more skill to identify the perfect setup among hundreds of mediocre ones than it does to simply trade whatever looks reasonable in the moment. The market rewards this discipline because it's rare. Most participants are driven by emotion, urgency, and the need to constantly be doing something. This creates inefficiencies and opportunities for those patient enough to wait for them. When the majority is acting impulsively, the selective few who maintain their discipline are the ones positioned to profit from that impatience. This principle applies across all time frames and trading styles. Whether you're a day trader looking for intraday setups, or a position trader holding for weeks or months, the power of selectivity remains constant. The day trader who takes 3 high-quality trades per week will typically outperform the one who takes 3 trades per day. The position trader who makes 4 exceptional trades per year will outperform the one who's constantly adjusting positions. The key is developing absolute clarity about what constitutes an acceptable trade for your strategy and style. This isn't about finding the perfect system that wins every time, because such a system doesn't exist. It's about defining your edge so precisely that you can recognize it instantly when it appears and ignore everything else without hesitation or regret. This clarity comes from experience, but not just any experience. It comes from the specific experience of waiting, of letting opportunities pass, of choosing quality over quantity repeatedly until it becomes second nature. Each trade you skip teaches you something about your discipline. Each perfect setup you execute builds your confidence. Each mediocre opportunity you resist strengthens your resolve. The transformation from active to selective trading is often gradual and sometimes uncomfortable. Your first instinct might be to ease into it, to be slightly more selective while still taking most of the trades you used to take. But this half-hearted approach often fails because you haven't fully committed to the mindset shift required. True selectivity demands a complete reimagining of what it means to be actively engaged in trading. When you finally embrace true selectivity, you discover that trading becomes less about what you do and more about who you become. The constant internal debate between action and inaction dissolves into something deeper. A quiet confidence that comes from knowing exactly what you're looking for and having the strength to wait for it. This isn't the confidence of someone who thinks they can predict the market. It's the confidence of someone who has learned to trust their process completely. The selective trader develops what I call patient aggression. They can sit motionless for days or weeks, watching the market fluctuate without feeling the slightest urge to participate. But when their moment arrives, when all the stars align and their perfect setup materializes, they strike with the force and precision of lightning. There's no hesitation, no second guessing, no fear. They've been preparing for this exact moment, and when it comes, they're ready. This transformation changes everything about how you experience trading. The constant anxiety that comes from always being in a position, always worrying about the next tick, always wondering if you should hold or fold, simply evaporates. You sleep better because you're not carrying the emotional weight of mediocre trades. You think clearer because your mind isn't cluttered with the noise of constant decision-making. You perform better because you're operating from a place of strength rather than desperation. The market begins to look different through the lens of selectivity. Instead of seeing endless opportunities that might slip away, you start seeing patterns within patterns. You notice how certain setups that look attractive on the surface consistently fail to follow through. You observe how the market tends to punish those who chase and reward those who wait. You develop an almost intuitive sense for when conditions are truly favorable versus when they're merely acceptable. This intuition doesn't come from mystical powers or supernatural abilities. It comes from the deep focus that selectivity allows. When you're not constantly reacting to every market movement, you can step back and see the bigger picture. You start to understand the rhythm of the market, the ebb and flow that governs price movement over time. You recognize that the market has moods, cycles, and patterns that repeat with surprising regularity. The psychological shift is profound. Instead of feeling like you're fighting the market, trying to force it to give you what you want, you begin to feel like you're dancing with it. You learn to move when it moves and stay still when it's still. This harmony between trader and market is what the ancient masters of any craft eventually discover. It's not about domination or control, it's about alignment and flow. But this harmony doesn't come without cost. The price you pay is the discomfort of missing moves that you could have profited from, the sting of watching opportunities pass by while you stick to your criteria, the quiet voice in your head that whispers you're being too conservative, too rigid, too afraid to take risks. These internal battles never completely disappear, but they become easier to manage as your conviction in the process grows stronger. The selective trader learns to reframe these missed opportunities as investments in their long-term success. Every trade they don't take because it doesn't meet their standards is actually strengthening their discipline muscle. Every opportunity they let pass is proof that they're committed to their process over their emotions. This reframing is crucial because it transforms what feels like sacrifice into what it actually is, which is strategic patience. Over time, something remarkable happens to your relationship with money and trading. When you trade less frequently, each trade carries more weight, so you naturally become more thoughtful about position sizing and risk management. You're not constantly bleeding small amounts on mediocre trades, so your capital preservation improves dramatically. The money you do risk is deployed with surgical precision on setups where you have genuine conviction. This approach also changes how you handle winning and losing streaks. When you take fewer trades, the inevitable runs of winners and losers have less emotional impact because you're not as frequently exposed to the psychological swings. A losing streak of 3 trades spread over 2 months feels very different from 3 losing trades in 3 days. Your emotional resilience increases because you're not constantly being tested by the market's ups and downs. The selective trader also develops a deeper appreciation for the craft of trading itself. Instead of seeing it as a way to make quick money, they begin to view it as an art form that requires patience, skill, and continuous refinement. Each trade becomes a carefully considered move in a longer game. Each decision is weighed not just for its immediate potential, but for how it fits into the larger strategy. This artistic approach to trading naturally leads to better documentation and analysis. When you take fewer trades, you can afford to study each one more thoroughly. You analyze not just what happened, but why it happened. You look for patterns in your successes and failures. You refine your criteria based on what you learn. This continuous improvement process is only possible when you're not overwhelmed by the volume of decisions you're making. The compounding effect of this approach extends beyond just financial returns. Your skills compound because you're focusing deeply rather than spreading your attention thin. Your confidence compounds because each successful execution of your selective process reinforces your belief in it. Your discipline compounds because every time you resist a marginal opportunity, you strengthen your ability to resist the next one. Perhaps most importantly, your stress levels decrease dramatically. Trading stops being an emotional roller coaster and becomes more like a methodical process. You're not constantly anxious about positions because you only take positions you truly believe in. You're not constantly second-guessing yourself because you've done the work to ensure each trade meets your strict criteria. The mental energy you save by not overtrading can be redirected toward higher quality analysis and preparation. The selective approach also forces you to become more creative in how you find opportunities. Instead of accepting whatever the market serves up on any given day, you start to actively hunt for the specific conditions that favor your style of trading. You might focus on particular market environments, specific times of day, or certain types of news events. This specialization makes you more effective because you're playing to your strengths rather than trying to be good at everything. The irony deepens when you realize that by trading less, you actually become more engaged with the market. You watch more intently because you're looking for specific signals. You study more thoroughly because each trade matters more. You prepare more carefully because you can't rely on volume to overcome poor execution. The quality of your engagement with the market improves dramatically, even as the quantity decreases. This engagement extends to how you consume information about trading and markets. Instead of frantically trying to keep up with every news item, every market commentator, every social media post about trading, you become highly selective about your information sources. You focus on the inputs that actually improve your decision-making and ignore everything else as noise. This information diet is just as important as your trading diet. The selective trader also develops a different relationship with technology and tools. Instead of constantly searching for new indicators, new software, or new systems that might give them an edge, they focus on mastering the tools they already have. They understand that the edge comes not from the sophistication of the tools, but from the skill with which they are applied. A simple moving average in the hands of a disciplined trader can be more powerful than the most complex algorithm in the hands of someone who lacks patience. This mastery mindset extends to every aspect of the trading process. Risk management becomes an art form rather than a checkbox exercise. Position sizing becomes a strategic decision rather than a mechanical calculation. Entry and exit timing become expressions of skill rather than guesses based on hope. Every element of the trade is considered carefully because there are fewer trades to spread your attention across. The transformation from active to selective trading often reveals hidden beliefs about productivity and success that have been sabotaging performance. Many traders carry unconscious assumptions from other areas of life that more effort always leads to better results. In trading, this assumption is not just wrong, it's destructive. Learning to measure success by the quality of process rather than the quantity of activity requires rewiring deep-seated mental patterns. This rewiring process can be uncomfortable because it challenges fundamental beliefs about how success works. You might feel guilty about not working harder when you're sitting out of the market. You might worry that you're being lazy when you let opportunities pass by. You might question whether you're really a trader if you're not constantly trading. These feelings are normal and temporary. They fade as the results of selective trading speak for themselves. The selective trader eventually reaches a state where they feel genuinely grateful for the opportunities they don't take. They understand that every marginal trade they avoid is protecting their capital for the exceptional trades that will define their success. They see patience not as a limitation, but as their greatest competitive advantage in a market filled with impatient participants. This gratitude extends to losses as well. When you take fewer trades, each loss carries more information value. You can study it more thoroughly, learn from it more completely, and apply those lessons more effectively. Losses become expensive education rather than just financial setbacks. This reframing helps maintain the emotional equilibrium necessary for long-term success. The selective approach also changes how you think about market cycles and timing. Instead of trying to be in the market all the time regardless of conditions, you start to recognize when conditions favor your style and when they don't. You learn to be more active during favorable periods and more patient during unfavorable ones. This cyclical approach to trading activity is much more sustainable than the constant pressure to always be finding opportunities. As your selectivity becomes more refined, you start to develop what can only be described as market wisdom. This isn't the same as market knowledge or market intelligence. It's something deeper. An understanding of how human psychology drives price movement, a sense of when the market is likely to reward patience versus when it might punish it, an intuition for the difference between genuine opportunity and mere market noise. The path to trading mastery isn't about finding more opportunities. It's about becoming the kind of person who can recognize when true opportunity presents itself and having the discipline to wait for it. When you skip 99% of trades, you're not missing out on profits. You're investing in something far more valuable. Your own transformation into a trader who values patience over impulse, quality over quantity, wisdom over activity. The market will always be there tomorrow, but your capital and your peace of mind depend on the choices you make today.